Shame does the opposite. Shame says that you are the problem, that you are fundamentally too much and unlovable. And shame does not motivate change. It's one of the biggest things standing in the way of it. You cannot heal from a place of, I am broken, I am the problem, I am bad, I am wrong. This is where you drown. So here's the move, and it's really the heart of this whole episode. You can take responsibility for your behavior, and you can drop this verdict on your character at the same time, because they're two different things. PMDD shaped my life for 17 years before I could name it. I spent those years searching for answers, questioning my sanity, and desperately seeking treatments that actually worked. My painful journey had an unexpected twist. Helping others heal from PMDD became my life's purpose. Hi, I'm Jess, a board-certified nutritional therapist, coach, the founder of Her Mood Mentor, and your host. This is PMDD Pep Talk, a weekly reminder that your suffering is real, your experience is valid, and your future is brighter than your symptoms suggest. Each week, we're going to explore the truths about PMDD that nobody talks about. The kind of truths that shift something deep inside you and make you think, maybe there's more possible than I imagined. Whether you're in the depths of luteal darkness or riding the clarity of your follicular phase, you're exactly where you need to be. Because here's what I know for sure. Healing PMDD isn't just about managing symptoms, it's about transforming your life. This challenge, as brutal as it can be, is an invitation to know yourself more deeply and live a more joyful, purpose-filled life. PMDD might feel like your whole story, but it's just a chapter, and you get to write what comes next. Welcome to PMDD Pep Talk. Quick pep talk pause. Remember that everything we talk about here is meant to educate and inspire. Always team up with your healthcare provider for personal medical advice. All right, now let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to PMDD Pep Talk. Today we're diving into an episode that I have wanted to talk about for a while because it circulates around a metaphor that I have connected with and used in coaching and our nutritional therapy practice for years, and I literally have it tattooed on my body from years ago, from years before I even started, well, I guess I had started Her Mood Mentor, but it was very early on. I'm rambling. I'm so excited. So have you ever had someone you love reach for you in the middle of a PMDD episode, and instead of grabbing their hand, you shoved them away? Maybe you snapped at them. Maybe you shut down and kind of got ice cold or silent. And at the same time, part of you was screaming for help while the rest of you was pushing away the only person who was reaching out to give you the help. So when this happens, and I'm wondering if you resonate with this or if you're like, no, that's never happened to me before, but it's super common. So if it's happened to you, I want you to know, like, you are not cruel, you are not impossible to love, but what's happening is you're drowning. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why using the metaphor that I love so much and have tattooed on my body. Now, I have many PMDD tattoos. I will at some point do a PMDD tattoo tour. I used tattoos for a period of time. Looking back now, I see this. I don't know that I was conscious of this at the time, but I used tattoos at a time for a period of years to process what I had experienced with 17 years of undiagnosed and misdiagnosed tattoos. I probably will never get another tattoo. I have kind of conflicted feelings about tattoos now. I won't get any of mine removed, but you introduce a lot of heavy metals to the body when you get tattoos, and they're very permanent, and you change over the course of your life. And so I'm kind of iffy on tattoos now, but It is also true that tattoos made a big difference for me in my PMDD experience. I did a reel about 5 unhinged things I've done that actually helped my PMDD symptoms, and one of them was getting a tattoo. It wasn't this tattoo, but we'll maybe talk about that other tattoo in another episode. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on tattoos. Send me a DM on Instagram if you're interested in that episode. But we're going to stay focused today, and we are going to talk about the metaphor and the tattoo of the drowning girl. Now, there is a famous painting called Drowning Girl, and it's a woman in the waves with a tear on her cheek. The water is kind of closing over her, and there is a little thought bubble above her that says, "I would rather sink than call for help." And the first time I saw it, I kind of froze, because I feel like this is exactly what PMDD is. That is the moment, like going under and still refusing a hand, whether it be a hand from yourself or a hand from someone helping you. And maybe you resonate with that, maybe you don't. There's a couple of different ways that this can play out. A lot of us are seeking support and we're not getting the support that we need, but this is a little bit different, what I'm talking about now. It's more about when you're in an activated nervous system state. So go back and listen to episode 46, episode 47. We were talking more about this escalation pattern that plays out. And we're continuing to build on that, and this metaphor continues to build on that. So I want to tell you a little bit about why this happens, because it has more to do with biology than you may think. So researchers who study drowning and see real footage of people going under the water found something that was very surprising. So drowning doesn't look like drowning. There's not a lot of thrashing, waving, yelling for help. The person who is truly drowning physically cannot call out, because the body will fulfill its need to breathe before it will spend air on speech. So their mouth barely clears the surface. Their arms press down on the water instinctively, trying to get the next breath. There's actually a researcher named Frank Pia who named this the instinctive drowning response. It's something that's hardwired, it's involuntary, and from the shore, if you saw someone who was drowning, it looks very quiet. It can look like nothing at all. So when you're in a PMDD survival state, you are in a similar response to this. You cannot calmly turn to your partner and say, "I am not okay, I need support." That part of your brain is not online any longer. You have one motive left, which is to survive the next moments as they're passing, the next day, whatever it is. So it can come out as you snapping at them, you having a big emotional response, or just total silence and shutdown. And so again, from the outside, it does not look like drowning. It looks like rage or coldness or you being difficult. But on the inside, you're going under. Now, this is the part of where the metaphor comes in, and it changed everything for me. And it's about the people trying to save you. So this is super fascinating. I talk about this with so many of my clients. I'm going to repeat this again and again. I'm surprised I haven't brought this up yet in 40-something episodes, because it's married with my understanding of the PMDD experience. It's married with my own lived decade of going through this undiagnosed and misdiagnosed. And this is what you need to know. Okay, when lifeguards are trained, they are taught something that sounds almost cruel at first. You don't swim straight into the arms of the drowning person, okay? Because a drowning person is in a survival state where they are not consciously thinking any longer. They are surviving, and they will climb you. They will push you down to lift themselves up, not because they want to hurt you, but because their body is running on one command: survive, okay? And you are the nearest thing to help them survive. So a drowning person will drown the lifeguard of the person who's actually trying to save them. Lifeguards will get drowned. So Lifeguards are trained a specific technique. They don't swim in head first with no plan, with nothing between them, because they will get pulled under and then 2 people will drown instead of 1. So lifeguards are trained to do it differently. They bring a flotation device, something that floats in the space between them and the person drowning. They approach the person with awareness, not panic. They keep distance. They maintain distance between the drowning person and themselves. And if they get grabbed and pulled under, they are taught specific techniques to go down, because a drowning person will let go of things that are sinking so that they can stay up, okay? Like, lifeguards are trained with specific techniques so that they are not drowned by the drowning person who they are trying to save. Like, are you hearing this? This is just so crazy. This is such a relevant and perfect metaphor for PMDD that I really want you to sit with. The people who love you cannot dive in headfirst either. When they throw their whole self at your PMDD episode or your spiral with no plan, trying to fix it, trying to absorb it, they are going to go under too. And then there's resentment. Then there's burnout. Then there's the partner who slowly stops reaching out to help you, not because they don't love you anymore, but because they're getting drowned alongside you. And no one has taught them how to rescue without going under, because we're not in a lifeguard training when it comes to PMDD, okay? And loving people with PMDD. So, what do you do with all of this? Because a metaphor that just makes you feel understood and then leaves you there, it's really not enough. Like, this metaphor, we got to take it farther. So there are 3 things I want to point out here. 1, we need to separate the guilt from the shame. Okay, guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. Let me repeat that again. We need to separate the guilt from the shame. Guilt is I have done something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. Now, one of these helps you heal and the other keeps you underwater. Okay? So much of PMDD recovery gets stuck here in the guilt and the shame over things you did or said while you were spiraling. And I want you to have that distinction. And actually, shame researchers, including Brené Brown, have studied this for years, right? She says guilt is I did something bad. Shame is I am bad. They feel similar, but they are not the same thing. We need the distinction. Guilt is actually useful. Guilt helps you behave in a way that aligns with your values and says, what I didn't match who I want to be. I want to repair it. Guilt drives apology. It drives change. And the research finds that people who can own their behavior, I made a bad choice, I made a mistake, are the ones who go on to make amends and have healthier relationships and change their behavior over time. Shame does the opposite. Shame says that you are the problem, that you are fundamentally too much and unlovable. And shame does not motivate change. It's one of the biggest things standing in the way of it. You cannot heal from a place of, I am broken, I am the problem, I am bad, I am wrong. This is where you drown. So here's the move, and it's really the heart of this whole episode. You can take responsibility for your behavior, and you can drop this verdict on your character at the same time, because they're 2 different things. When you're in survival mode, you're not accessing your faculties. You're not consciously hurting someone that you love. It's instinctive drowning response, right? You can still do the repair. It doesn't mean that you're not responsible for your behavior. You move the shame out of the way and you can deal with the guilt. You can move through the guilt. And you get to stop building your entire sense of self out of a place of shame for something that you did or said or how you acted while you were drowning. Now, this is what self-compassion actually is. And it's not letting yourself off the hook, right? It's not like blaming PMDD for your behaviors. It's more complex than that. A researcher named Kristen Neff has spent decades studying this, and what she has found is almost the opposite of what we fear. So self-compassion lowers shame. It lowers the spinning loop of rumination that keeps you replaying everything you said, everything you did. At 2 a.m, you're waking up and you're just on a rumination loop. And this part really ties everything we're talking about here together. So it calms your nervous system. It shifts you towards a more settled parasympathetic state when you have self-compassion. So being kind to yourself, right? It's not an excuse. It's not kind of like discounting what happened or what you did or what you said, but it is a part of what is going to stop you from continuing to drown. We have to have the self-compassion, and I think you can start to have more self-compassion when you understand the drowning girl metaphor. Okay? Second thing I want to talk about here is you need to set up rescue on dry land because you can't do it in the water. A drowning person cannot calmly explain what they need. So you do it before. On a good day, when your head is above the water, you have the conversations with the people around you, with your partners. You tell the people that you love, when I get like this, when you notice these symptoms are coming up, I'm not pushing you away because I don't love you. I am drowning. And here's what actually helps. And here's what does not help. This is you handing them the flotation device before the storm instead of expecting them to have been trained in lifeguard rescue techniques for PMDD, which they have not been. Now, we help you do this in our PMDD partner workbook. We help you work with your partner to do this in that workbook. But this is what needs to be done. You have to be prepared for when this is going to happen. You know it happens cyclically. You can see that in your symptom map. If you haven't recognized the cyclical nature of PMDD because you're stuck in PMDD amnesia, I want you to go back and I want you to listen to a couple episodes because all of these episodes build on each other. There's a huge related tie through the conversations that we're having here. Okay, episode 29 was the one mistake keeping you stuck and PMDD, and that episode is about why only working on your symptoms when you're having symptoms is the biggest mistake you could be making with PMDD. You have to work on the symptoms before the symptoms are happening. You have to have a plan in place. We also talked about building a PMDD emergency kit in episode 40 to help you prepare for that. We talked about in the more recent episodes about episode 46 and 47 about how you need to understand the escalation scale and understand that your nervous system is going to be kind of offline. Your conscious self is going to be kind of offline when you're in those states. And so you need to have a plan in place of what are you going to do to change your state or use tools to de-escalate yourself during those times. So go back to those episodes. They're related to what we're talking about here. Now, the third thing I want to point out is the flotation device is the thing that floats between the two of you. It's not your partner throwing their whole body into your spiral. It is a plan that you both agreed on when you were calm. Now, we're going to do an episode on relationship tips for PMDD because I have a lot of them, but a code word is a really good one to have. A signal that means I'm going under. We're in the luteal phase. PMDD is PMDDing, okay? And you have a kind of pre-decided plan that you're going to enact during that period so that you can get the support that you need, so that the people that love you can support you because they want to support you, but so then you're not drowning both of you, and then you're ending up with a lot of guilt and shame because of the way you behaved when people were trying to help you and you were in a survival state. So pulling it all together before we wrap this quick one up. Drowning does not look like drowning, and neither does PMDD. From the outside, it can look like rage or coldness, but inside you are fighting for your life, okay? Also, pushing people away in that state is an instinctive drowning response. You're trying to survive. It's involuntary. It's survival. It's not who you are as a person. You also have to separate the guilt from the shame. Own your behaviors and repair the damage that you caused from the behaviors, but drop the verdict about your self-worth. You are not fundamentally flawed because you're experiencing PMDD symptoms. PMDD symptoms are a communication from your body about things that need support, things that are not going well, and you haven't learned how to speak that language yet. So you're stuck in this loop of merging guilt with shame and merging PMDD with your character as a person, and we cannot have that. Okay, we need more self-compassion, and we need things that actually help your system move out of these activated states and not go through the full PMDD cycle where you're building your life up and then you're cutting your life down and then you're living decades like this. It's super traumatic. You are going to live a terrible quality of life in that state, and you can change it. Okay? And remember that the people who love you can't come head first to rescue you. You're both going to go under. They need some support and some training in how to help you. And only you can give that to them, and you can't give that to them when you're in an activated state. This is something you have to do before you get to that state. So you need to set up your kind of rescue plan on dry land, if we're going with the metaphor. Have the conversation, use our PMDD partner workbook if you need some help to build this plan out. Kind of agree on the plan, and then have your code word, or, we're going to talk about other signaling that you can do to signal where you are in your cycle if you're not able to communicate it, because a lot of times, and this was my pattern, and I see this in a lot of clients as well, you get into a shutdown. Or, like we said, you get into an overactivated behavior state where you're flying off the handle at the people that love you. You're very reactive, and the behavior is playing out in kind of two different realms. Sympathetic activation, fight or flight, you're threatening to leave the relationship, and sometimes we do, and sometimes PMDD is a sign that we need to leave the relationship, but that's another conversation for another day. Or you're in parasympathetic activation and you are completely shut down in a freeze state and you can't communicate what you need. So before we wrap up, if this episode is resonating with you, please take a couple of moments to support the show. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you're listening on a podcast app, please take a moment to leave a rating and review. It just takes a second, and it makes a huge difference in getting this information in front of women who need it most. So wrapping up here, if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. You are not the villain of your own story for the things you did while you were drowning. You are someone whose survival response is very loud, and you are learning to set up a rescue system for yourself instead of blaming yourself afterward, okay? We have to change the way that this is playing out, and it does take some legwork, but you're not going to be able to get there unless we have conversations like this. We have some metaphors that you can lean into. We have some self-understanding, which starts to breed some self-compassion. If you're going under more often than you're coming up for air, right? If you really feel like you're drowning, please get support. Please get real support that's built to hold that kind of weight so that you're not continuing to do this alone, and your partner or your family, it may not be enough. And I highly recommend mapping your symptoms so that you can see the pattern, because when you see the pattern play out on the page, you start to recognize the cyclical nature of this, and you get enmeshed and you are less absorbed into the experience. You can kind of sit back, you kind of have more of a bird's eye view and see, oh, right, it's day 17. I usually feel like I'm starting to lose my mind on day 17. And so here we are, and here are the symptoms playing out on my map, and I can see the pattern. So we have a free symptom mapping kit. You can comment map in Instagram on our content. You can send me a DM and say map, and we'll send it to you. It's free. You can go to our website. You can click at the header bar and you can get the symptom mapping kit. But that's a really great place to start. There's so much to this, but this episode was really about the metaphor of the drowning girl and how you may feel like that is you, and how when we're drowning, we are in a survival instinct and we are going to drown everyone around us as well, which I know isn't super peppy, but the peppy spin for PMDD Pep Talk here is that awareness and that understanding for you to change the course of how this has been playing out for you, if any of this resonates. All right. Next week, we're going to talk about how to feel like yourself again when PMDD has you feeling like a stranger in your own body, and how your core values can work like a compass to come back to who you really are underneath all of the symptoms. This is going to help you continue to break that shame cycle and even make decisions when your brain is foggy. So if you've ever looked back after a PMDD episode and thought like, that was not me, who was that person? How did I get there? How do I not go there again? This next episode is going to be for you. So stick around. Excited to chat with you about that one, and see you soon.